Ladies and gentlemen, this is Big Ray's Wrestling Show. You know me, I'm the mark of the masses, the man with a plan. Big Ray here to stay to talk some TNA today, Impact 9/19/2013. Ladies and gentlemen, before I jump into this show, I want to remind you guys to check out the Can-Am Wrestling Show. Me and my Canadian brother, my brother from the north, Andre Corbill. You can follow him at Andre_Corbill on Twitter. Follow me at Big Ray Show on Twitter. We're going to be having a great show with TNA-based wrestling topics every Tuesday night. You can find us at TNA Mecca, www.tnamecca.com. Check us out there. But of course, if you want to follow me and you want to find out what's going on every single week with the TNA recaps, and of course see some of the best interviews on the YWC with the legend Bill Apter, check us out here at OneWrestling.com. But let's quickly jump into this night, the fallout from last week's free pay-per-view. This was one hell of a night, and I gotta be honest. I do put TNA over a lot, and it's not because I'm just a TNA mark. I really enjoy the product. I enjoy WWE, but I really enjoy this product. I like where they're going, and after tonight, I'm really interested. I'm intrigued to see what angles they're gonna take and which direction TNA is gonna go. Are they going backwards to go forwards? I want to know what your opinion is. If you guys understand, leave a comment here below here, OneWrestling.com or YouTube /OneWrestling video. Backstage we have Magnus. And Magnus is basically putting over AJ Styles, and he actually calls AJ Styles the best in the business. He basically puts himself over a little bit, but you know, he recognizes the fact that he didn't have what it took to actually win the BFG series, but I think he cut a really good promo. Again, I am a huge Magnus fan. I think eventually Magnus will be TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but really soon. But of course, Bobby Roode, the leader of E.G.O, actually picks a fight with Magnus, and he actually eggs him on enough that he gets jumped, and that being Magnus gets jumped by the other two members, Daniels and Kaz. They all three jump Magnus backstage. Well, Magnus comes to the ring and he calls out any member of E.G.O for a one-on-one fight. Well, Kazarian accepts, but Kazarian is quickly joined by Daniels, and they basically jump Magnus, and Bobby Roode comes down to the ring, and now we have all three guys beating the living daylights out of Magnus. Unfair to say the least, but the fact is that Magnus wasn't alone. Sting and Samoa Joe both come down to the ring, and Sting calls out the members of E.G.O for a 6-man tag team match later tonight. We're going to find out what happens later tonight. Really good match. We'll get into that. Now we got Chris Sabin backstage, and Chris Sabin is talking to MANIK, and formerly Suicide, the X Division champion, and Chris Sabin starts cutting a promo, or let's just say he's talking to MANIK, saying how basically if it wasn't for Chris Sabin, MANIK wouldn't have a job. And Chris Sabin starts really putting himself over, and apparently Chris Sabin is now dating Velvet Sky, who is another fine young lady on the TNA Knockouts roster. So Chris Sabin, if you notice this, they kind of dressed him in black with the black hat, with the black shirt, really putting over the fact that he's a heel now. And he cuts, I think, let me tell you something, I hated it. Forgive me guys, I don't know if I'm speaking blasphemy, but I could not stand Chris Sabin, to be honest. I appreciated that they put the title on him. He's great, but his face promos weren't good. What I heard tonight, I liked it a lot. I really actually did. I would like to know what you guys think regarding heel Chris Sabin. Like him a lot, and I like the fact that they put him with Velvet Sky. It adds a little something to him, but you know, he basically takes credit for every single thing that MANIK had accomplished. Interesting. Well, MANIK actually had asked Hulk Hogan for a match with Jeff Hardy, and it was basically Jeff Hardy versus MANIK. Now, Chris Sabin and Velvet Sky actually come ringside to watch the match. Listen, MANIK actually had a great showing. MANIK actually fought really hard, and he had a couple of close pins, but Jeff Hardy basically was a little too much. Jeff Hardy hitting the Twist of Fate and the Swanton Bomb for the 1-2-3 after the match. Jeff Hardy actually lifts up his arm and gives him the credit that he so deserves. Now after that, Chris Sabin then enters the ring and does the same thing, giving MANIK the credit, lifting his arm up, you know, giving him the props. And as soon as MANIK turned his back, Chris Sabin does the heel thing, and Chris Sabin attacks MANIK from behind, with Jeff Hardy finally making the save. So apparently Chris Sabin is now a full-fledged heel backstage. He gets interviewed, and he basically says that he doesn't feel like he's been respected. He's been multi-time tag team champion. He's been the X Division champion 7 times. He's been the World Heavyweight champion. And he feels that now it's his time to take respect. I want to know what you guys think again regarding Chris Sabin's heel turn and what direction he's going to be going. I find him a hell of a lot more interesting as a heel. Where's Alex Shelley? Is he coming soon? That would be pretty cool. But anyway, I know he's in Japan. So we move on to the Knockouts Championship match. And this segment took the bulk of the evening, and I'll explain to you why. We have Mickie James, the Knockouts champion, versus O.D.B. O.D.B. basically is down on the ground towards the end of the match, and we have Mickie James, who basically drags her into the corner, and she's going to do a tornado DDT, or she's attempting to do a tornado DDT from the second rope, and she is reversed, and she gets hit with the BAM for the 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, O.D.B. is the new Knockouts champion again. I am really happy with seeing the title on O.D.B. If you guys follow my show, you know I'm a big fan of O.D.B. When she was refereeing, I was even saying, how come this woman isn't competing? How come she isn't wearing the TNA Knockouts Heavyweight or the TNA Knockouts Championship belt? Well, now she is. So I'm very interested to see where they go with this. Now, we had Eric Young, and they're celebrating. Eric Young comes into the ring, and you have Joseph Park in the ring, and BROMANS comes out, and they basically cut a pretty funny promo. I mean, these guys are relatively funny, especially ROBBIE. I think he's hilarious, and he calls Chris Park Joseph Park a hamster loser, and he basically says, you know, Eric Young, I can't blame you. You're married to this thing. Well, basically, Park says that if he wasn't wearing a suit, he would put up his dukes and teach those boys a lesson. Well, impromptu match, Eric Young is not wearing a suit. This was one of the quickest matches I ever seen. You have Robbie E, who goes to attack Eric Young in the corner. Eric Young moves over, schoolboy roll up, 1, 2, 3. So then he, that being Robbie E, is horribly upset and embarrassed over the fact that he lost so quickly. So he challenges Joseph Park to a match, and the exact same thing happens. Schoolboy roll up, 1, 2, 3. I think it was under 20 seconds. Maybe both matches were under 20 seconds combined. Really, really funny. Now, BROMANS attacks EY and Joseph Park, and they basically beat the living daylights out of these guys to a point where they made Joseph Park bleed. And you know what happens when Joseph Park bleeds. Joseph Park kind of channels his brother, and he actually clears the ring with choke slams and black hole slams. And I gotta be honest with you, EY looked to be really, really happy with what he saw. Now, finally, we get to the Aces and Eights, and they come into the ring, and Bully Ray asks a very important question to the fans. Do you know who I am? He's been asking that all the time, and Bully actually goes to each one of his brothers and Aces and Eights, and he says that, you know, he wants to thank somebody very special. He wants to thank the person for the reason why he is still the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, and he thanks Brooke Tessmacher, and he actually says she is the wind beneath his wings, which kind of, anyway. The other members of the Aces and Eights were not happy. You could see Briscoe was really, really, really upset, actually mouthing off to Bully Ray, and Bully Ray kind of puts him in his place. Well, Bischoff also does the same. Bully Ray pushes him into the corner and puts him in his place, saying that he'll knock his head off or slap his face, slap his head off. And then Big Nux gets into his face, says, you're gonna knock my head off? What are you gonna do about it? You're gonna get in my face? Nux basically tells Bully Ray, ever since, you know, you got involved with this chick, even before that, it's always been about Bully Ray. And the truth is, what is a heel supposed to do? It's all about the heel. And basically, Bully Ray Oh, really quick. There was a ho chant because apparently Nuck says bros before hoes, and Bully Ray says please don't, you know, he doesn't say please, but he says you better never call her a hoe, and the fans started chanting and going crazy, calling him a hoe. But basically, towards the end of this segment, Bully Ray is chased away by Nuck. So my question to you is, guys, is this the end of the Aces and Eights? Is it over? Well, we're gonna find out next week, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we go and we have a tag team match, or what was supposed to be Gunner and Cowboy James Storm versus Hernandez and Chavo for a shot at the tag team titles. Somehow it turned into a one-on-one match between Gunner and Hernandez, and Gunner basically goes over. And I was really disinterested in this match. Again, I'm not just here to put TNA over. I'm here to review and recap the show. And honestly, I've been saying this all week. I am not interested in Gunner. I am not interested in Cowboy James Storm as the tag team champions. I think eventually they will have to put the tag team titles on Hernandez and Chavo. I think they're a more interesting tag team. I think they're more of a tag team, and I think Cowboy James Storm, before he loses any momentum in TNA wrestling, they need to put him back in the singles division. I want to know what you guys think regarding this, but let's quickly run into this match. It was a one-on-one match, and Gunner actually goes over and wins the match, hitting Hernandez would look like a rock bottom into a backbreaker for the 1-2-3. That was actually a relatively good match. Now, the main event of the evening, or the wrestling main event of the evening, was the main event Mafia versus E.G.O, Ruse, Kaz, and Daniels. Now, we know who the main event Mafia is. We have Sting, we have Magnus, and we have Samoa Joe. And it was actually a hard-hitting match, a really good match. Now, towards the end of the match, we have Kaz. We have Sting in the ring, and he has Daniels in the Scorpion Deathlock after the Stinger Splash. Now, Kaz is distracting the referee. Now, as he's distracting the referee, Bobby Roode grabs the bat. Now, Bobby Roode rears back, and he's going to crack Sting behind the back. But Magnus acts as a sacrificial lamb, takes the full blunt of that hit right to his back. Now, something I don't know if anyone else picked this up, but Roode was the illegal man. Magnus was the illegal man, but Roode pins Magnus after hitting Magnus with a bat, who wasn't supposed to be in the ring. Sting and Daniels were the legal men, and he gets the 1-2-3. So that's the way that match ends, and we're gonna see, I'm pretty sure, a feud down the line with E.G.O and the main event Mafia. But now we go on to what I call the true main event of the evening, which is AJ Styles. I was gonna say versus Dixie Carter, but he confronts Dixie Carter. Now, AJ comes to the ring, and man, I gotta be honest, AJ cuts a promo, whether it was written, whether this was a shoot promo. Listen, the guy spoke the truth. He's been speaking what we've been saying from the very beginning. Dixie Carter came into the company with daddy's paycheck, and again, listen, I have nothing against Dixie Carter. She is what she is, but and I honestly do believe that Dixie Carter has a passion for the business. I don't think she's just a millionaire who just wants to make a couple of bucks and owns a wrestling company like some other guy back in WCW. But he feels that she broke up the chemistry that TNA had. She ended she stopped the momentum that TNA had developed with the X Division. He started asking about guys like Jerry Lynn, Loki, and so on and so forth. And then he goes on to say that, you know, Dixie Carter basically wasted time and money on guys who just came in for 2 years, basically didn't wrestle and earned a paycheck. And the biggest mistake he feels Dixie Carter did was basically looking past AJ Styles. And he puts himself over as the face of the company. And you know, the truth is, you know, there are not a lot of guys who have been in the company for the beginning or for an extended period of time. I mean, the WWE, you have John Cena, who basically started his career there, but I'm talking about back in the days, like, you know, Ric Flair was the NWA. That was the NWA. Nick Bockwinkel was the AWA back in the day. The WWF, I guess, would be Hulk Hogan back in the day. No, let's say Bruno Sammartino was the face of the WWF back in the day. That's more of a face. AJ Styles is the face of TNA. He has been there literally from day one. He was their first X Division champion. He was the one that actually helped springboard the X Division. And I gotta tell you, AJ Styles is extremely important. Now, Dixie Carter comes into the ring and she looks like she's about to cry, and she says, "I'm sorry, AJ, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry." And then she does a full 180, 360, whatever the hell you want to call it. she does a full heel turn, and she calls him, instead of the phenomenal AJ Styles, she calls him the marginal AJ Styles, saying that AJ Styles hasn't done a damn thing in the back, hasn't done a damn thing in the ring, hasn't done a damn thing phenomenal within the last couple of years. Prior to this, AJ Styles said that he is going to make Dixie Carter, after he wins the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, get on her knees. Well, get your mind out of the gutter. You know what I mean. She's gonna beg him to stay, and AJ Styles is gonna make her pay. Well, Dixie Carter not only shuts AJ's thought process down, not only does she put AJ Styles in his place, and she calls him, again, the marginal AJ Styles. She says that AJ Styles is not even a big fish in a small pond, basically. She really, really buries AJ Styles. Dixie Carter basically shuts the show down, shuts off his mic, and turns the lights off in the arena. Guys, what the hell is going on in TNA Wrestling? Are we going back to go forward? Are we going back to the good old days of not only unbelievable matches, but some of the most athletic, excellent wrestling that I haven't seen in years? Is this the right move for TNA Wrestling? Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Big Ray's Wrestling Show. I want to hear what you guys think. I ask you every single week, guys, leave your comments here below. Hit that like button on our videos. Please, please, please subscribe. You can find us here every single week at OneWrestling.com, YouTube/OneWrestlingVideo. You can find us here every single week. Oh, you can hit us up on Twitter at OneWrestling. Find me on Twitter at Big Ray Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I would do this for a living. But if I can, I would do it anyway. Why? Because I love talking wrestling, and I love hearing from you guys. Leave a comment here below, guys. I want to start a discussion. What direction is TNA going? Will AJ Styles lead TNA to prominence? I guess time will only tell. Ladies and gentlemen, I will see you guys here next week for my TNA recap. And don't forget to check me, Andre Corbeil, at TNA Mecca, www.tnamecca.com. Check out our show, the Can-Am Wrestling Show, where we'll be talking some TNA wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you next week. Or maybe this Tuesday. I hope to see you there. Peace.